Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Thursday, April 8th, 2021. This is live stream 645. So if this is your first time joining me, usually on the Dispatch, what I'll do is I'll share a first look or a page through of a board game, role-playing game, what have you. And I'll also provide the latest in tabletop gaming news. Every once in a while, I'll talk a little PC gaming as well, as I will tonight. But first off, should point out, tonight, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Traveler, The Great Rift from Mongoose Publishing. This is a box set, very hefty box set. So we're going to be cracking that open tonight and taking a peek. So if you are a longtime viewer, thank you so much for once again choosing to waste, I don't know, an hour or so of your life with this goofball. Just hanging out, having some fun. Anyway, always appreciated. Thank you so very much. Do want to remind everybody, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube, it'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Osric. Yes, if you haven't caught my page through of this, definitely give it a peek, especially if you have any interest in the old school Renaissance and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, or as a lot of people refer to it as 1E, first edition D&D. You might be interested in taking a peek at that. Of course, when I'm not streaming and you're not watching videos on the YouTube channel here, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, before we jump into the news, I also want to point out, because this is a live stream, that also means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, or maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, please chime in. I will do my best to respond. So let's see who was first out the gate. Raymond Tommins was first out. So it was like, take two, right? No, this is the first time. We haven't got take two yet. In fact, let me take a quick peek. We're showing 0 drop frames again so far. We had absolutely no drop frames yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh. Usually we get a few hundred, but Clint Gibson's here, and the Madman has joined us as well. So, I don't know, Raymond's just complaining about the quality of the stream. I don't know. The Madman can kick you out if you don't like it. All right, yes. The Motor City Madman is here with us as well, and Flaming Huron is hanging out also. Very, very cool. So let's jump on into the news. I've got a good amount to take care of tonight. So first of all, Now available from Green Feet Games is Unforgiven, the Lincoln assassination trial. Here's the details. Passion governs, and she never governs wisely. That's a quote from Benjamin Franklin. 90 years later, the very government that Franklin helped create disregarded his wisdom and trampled the constitutional rights of its own citizens in order to feed what seemed an insatiable hunger for vengeance. Now you, as the prosecution or defense, must convince a 9-panel jury. Now you must convince a 9-panel jury that Mary Surratt, one of 8 people put on trial for conspiring to assassinate President Abraham Lincoln and other members of his cabinet, is either guilty or innocent. Unforgiven, the Lincoln assassination trial is a 2-player game that takes place during the May 9th through June 28th, 1865 trial of the first woman, Mary Surratt, ever to be executed for treason by the United States. The game begins amidst the chaos of Lincoln's assassination as the country struggles to heal over the wreckage of the American Civil War. Each player must persuade the jury to convict or acquit the accused and thereby win the game. To do so, players draft and play cards that help them strengthen their case with the jurors and recruit them to their side, while also finding overwhelming evidence for or against the accused. In one of the most high-profile trials in U.S. history, will Mary Surratt again face the hangman's noose of American justice, or can you stop the trapdoor from falling? Unforgiven is for 2 players, ages 13 and up, plays in 30 minutes, and does carry an MSRP of $35. I believe right now you can get it on Amazon, according to Tom Butler from Green Feet Games. Wait a second. Why are we getting that Atlas Games popping up? That's super weird. Once again, system's not keeping the files that I put in there. That was kind of weird. Anyway, so if this rings a bell, that would be because I did a Kickstarter preview video for Unforgiven, the Lincoln assassination trial, and really liked it. I thought it was very, very unique, very different. I thought it was really well done. And supposedly I should be seeing a copy of the game. So if that does happen, we will take a look at it here on the show. I don't think I'll shoot another review for it, simply because the Kickstarter preview was essentially a review without saying it's a review. I don't know. All depends. All depends on if I get it or not. But very, very interesting, and especially as a 2-player game, I know some people find it difficult to find really involving 2-player games. This is certainly one. All right, it's Thursday. We know that brings a new free PC game over at the Epic Game Store. This week brings a new exclusive to Epic. It's 3 out of 10 Season 2 from Terrible Posture Games. I don't know where they came up with that. Here's the skinny. Will Shovelworks Studios ever make a game that scores better than a 3 out of 10? Further antics and misadventures of the world's worst game developers ensue as the saga of 3 out of 10 continues. Caffeinated superpowers, sentient AIs, and rival game studios all stand in the way of Shovelworks Studios as they struggle to finally make a game that scores better than, you guessed it, 3 out of 10. Will this be the season that they finally do it? Watch fully animated and voice scenes pull you into the absurd world of Shovelworks. Play narratively driven mini games to take you behind the scenes for a loving, satirical look at game development. You can also skip, rewind, and replay at any time, so you can experience the world of 3 out of 10 at your own pace. There is a rather quick launch video, so let's take a look.
What do you want?
We had an agreement.
That agreement didn't mention half the crap going on in there.
This game will be a hit.
They must never make a good game.
Dude, the number went down.
They don't need me for that.
Something's different. There, much better. Why aren't any of you at your desks?
Someone sabotaged our modem.
Sabotage.
Wow, look at that.
Never fear, Detective Pilot is on the case. From this moment onward, we deny any knowledge of this case.
Got it.
Things are always strange around here, but it's been really wacky lately.
All right, everyone, and hold. No.
Kevin started drinking coffee.
Ben! What? Okay, yeah, that's a problem.
Oh, I have a bunch of nitroglycerin in my desk.
We can't detonate your good luck dynamite. Ba, 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 ba. Let's sunk cost fallacy this thing.
Dude, that thing is totally gonna try and kill us.
Negative. You are all out of your minds. I'm just mugging you.
You can grab 3 out of 10 absolutely free until 10 a.m. April 15th. So I got kind of thrown off for a second here because, number one, it looks like at one point the stream dropped. So I see that the chat disconnected and then it reconnected, which happens on occasion. It's only a few seconds. So don't know what all that was about. And you know how I keep talking about how let's go back here real quick. It seems as if I need to replace my solid state drive because when I actually do things in the program for this stream, they don't always seem to save. And I know one of our regulars, Kabuki Kid, has talked about that kind of happening when a solid state drive is kind of wonking out, which is a bit irritating because my solid state drives in the Duct Tape Studios computer are not old. I'm starting to think that's not the case. I'm starting to think it's actually the program that I do this stream from or whatever. And yes, now the opening music is playing. I know, because I jumped back to the first scene with me. Anyway, I think that's what it is. I don't think it's the solid state drive because I don't have any issues outside of sometimes when I build the scenes it's OBS Studio is what I use. With OBS Studio, it doesn't always save it. So I'm starting to think it is the program. And I got to be honest, they have not updated this program in a while. I mean, not years, but I mean, it's been a few months and I'm a little surprised there. All right. So I don't know how long it disconnected for. So I don't know because I didn't notice the chat disconnect. Anyway, all right. So Disavowed 92 is with us in chat. Sarah D has decided to say howdy to everybody as well. And anyway, so Flaming Heron says, yeah, I was told SSDs are more reliable but then I did have one just fail and I hardly use mine to do anything but run the computer. The funny thing is I don't record anything to it. So you already know when I do the stream, I record it as well. I actually record it to a hard drive because I actually have 5 drives with the home built Ryzen 9 that I use down here. So, and of course, I've always heard, you try to do things on different drives so you're not using the same drive, doing the same thing. Anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. I don't think it's the solid state drive. I think it's this program because I was down here earlier today making sure everything was set up. That video for 3 out of 10 was set up and sized, which of course I go to that video and it wasn't there. We started watching the video from Gloomier from yesterday. I had the Lincoln assassination trial, the Unforgiven stuff set up. All of a sudden, the only thing we're seeing is the one. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to like shut down the program, reopen the program, and then go through to make sure everything's saved. That might be what I've got to do. Anyway, back to, let's jump back over here. So Flaming Heron also mentioned this as far as Epic Games. Next week, there's going to be 3 games. They all look as if they are point-and-click adventures, but with quite a bit of animation. And I took a peek. One of them is the Ken Follett. Oh, gosh. Can't remember. He's got those big, epic, historical, like, religious novels. It's the first one. And that's supposed to be really good. Actually, I looked at all 3, and all 3 have very good reviews in that. So I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. Get 3. Very rarely do we get 3 free games from Epic, but next week, at least so far, that's what we've got on the slate. So Zoran, or I should say Zorak Zoran 1 has joined us in chat. Very cool. Welcome aboard. Good to see you back. Let's jump on into some role-playing game news, because there is a new bundle of holding that's arrived. It features the 5th edition of Chivalry and Sorcery. I've got the deets. Adventura! This all-new Chivalry and Sorcery bundle presents the venerable, you guessed it, Chivalry and Sorcery tabletop role-playing game of medieval fantasy adventure in its new 5th edition from Britannia Game Designs. Long respected for historical accuracy, even in its depiction of arcane magic, CNS authentically conjures the glories of Europe's Middle Ages, courtly grandeur, tournaments and jousts, fantastic beasts of myth and folklore, and diverse visitors and cultural influences from faraway lands. The 2020 5th edition, which funded in a July 2019 Kickstarter campaign, refines and streamlines the rules to embody a complete experience of every major period of the Middle Ages. For just $9.95, you get all 7 titles in the Player Collection, which has a retail value of $49, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete 602-page Chivalry and Sorcery 5e core rulebook, 4 companion character supplements, originally published for older editions, dwarves, elves, armorers, and knights, and the art of Chivalry and Sorcery. If you pay more than the threshold price of $25.08, you'll level up, also get the entire Game Master collection with 9 more supplements and scenarios worth an additional $71.50, including the Nightwalker's Rules expansion, adding vampires and lycanthrope characters, location source books and maps for Enderia and the Dragon Reaches of Metakush, as well as 3 full-length adventures, Treachery, Treason, and Craig Hill, as well as the CNS Game Master screen. These savings do run through April 26th. 20% of your payment. Now, this is different. It's usually 10%. Now, it's 20% for this bundle. 20% of your payment after, of course, gateway fees. It's going to be donated to the charity designated by Stephen Turner of Britannia Games, the Honey Pot Children's Charity. Nice. We also get to see a brand new charity. I have not seen that charity before with Bundle of Holding. We have seen a lot of direct relief, a lot of that as of late. So Grade A pointed out Pillars of the Earth. Did I not say hello to Grade A? Hello, Grade A. That's exactly it. It is Pillars of the Earth. And the funny thing is, Pillars of the Earth is actually a pretty good miniseries that was made. I was very surprised. Very surprised. So, A Great A says there's a Kickstarter for all the hard books in hardcover as well. I was not aware of that. I'll probably share that news next week for the Douglashes, Tom and Grant, who are the fine folks who run Columbia Games. Anyway, so this is a pretty cool bundle, and I've always heard good things about Chivalry and Sorcery. Flaming Huron says that they like that system. Isn't Chivalry and Sorcery, now, I guess they've streamlined some of the rules in this new edition, even though it does clock in at 600 plus pages. Isn't that kind of a really crunchy system? Or is it Castles and Crusades that I'm thinking of? Because I gotta say, I think it's Chivalry and Sorcery. Because I always thought that Castles and Crusades was kind of an AD&D retro clone of sorts, but a little lighter as far as rules. I might be wrong. I have not seen every OSR system out there, of course. So, A Great A says they have the second edition box set that was from Fantasy Games Unlimited. I remember FGU. Aftermath, I had Aftermath from it. I also had Space Opera was another one. I think my favorite role-playing game that came out from FGU was Bushido. Actually, I think Bushido still stands up really well as a role-playing game. All right, so let me grab a quick sip here. We'll move on to the next news piece. I should mention, I'm going to be talking about what's on the horizon next month from Paizo Inc. for Starfinder and Pathfinder. I got to say, very light on these Starfinder releases next month. So this is going to be a few minutes, although it's not as big a list as we usually see from Paizo. And of course, I'm only going to talk about the major releases, but these are all arriving in May. Here's what's heading your way from Paizo Inc. First off, we've got the Pathfinder Adventure Path 167. Ready? Fight. Fists of the Ruby Phoenix, part 2 of 3. The time has finally come for the Ruby Phoenix tournament. 8 teams of the world's greatest fighters have qualified for the grand tournament and must now compete to win a prize from the Grand Treasure Vault of Haojin, the Ruby Phoenix. The player characters will need to muster skill, strength, and style in order to overcome their rivals and impress the audience in a variety of fighting bouts. But when their greatest rivals disrupt the tournament by summoning an ancient terror from the ocean's depths, spoilers! It's up to the players to put a stop to the rampaging monster before it destroys the city of Goka. It's Gohia! Gohia! Ready? Fight is a Pathfinder adventure for 4 15th level characters. This adventure continues the Fists of the Ruby Phoenix Adventure Path, a 3-part monthly campaign in which the players compete in Galarian's most amazing fighting tournament. This adventure also includes lore of the monstrous kaiju that dwell in the world's darkest corners, a gazetteer of the eastern trading metropolis of Goka, and a roster of new monsters. Each monthly full-color softcover Pathfinder Adventure Path volume, say that 5 times fast, contains an in-depth adventure scenario, stats for several new monsters, and support articles meant to give game masters additional material to expand their campaign. Pathfinder Adventure Path volumes use the open game license and work with both the Pathfinder RPG and the world's oldest fantasy role-playing game. What could that be? The softcover does carry an MSRP of $24.99. There's no indication of this being in PDF. I'm pretty sure you're going to see it in PDF. Normally, the PDFs for these Pathfinder Adventure Path chapters is $17.99. Also, we've got the Pathfinder Bestiary 3 Pawn Collection. Complete the triple threat of monster pawns. The Pathfinder Bestiary 3 Pawn Collection collects the monsters found in, you guessed it, the Pathfinder Bestiary 3, and are perfect for use with the Pathfinder role-playing game or any role-playing game. This collection presents beautiful full-color images of a wide array of new nasties, including more than 300 monsters, such as dragons, clockworks, demons, devils, hags, kami, Ouroboros. That's a weird world. It's like, Ouroboros. It's like, here comes the Ouroboro. Sprites, titans, valkyries, and more. Printed on sturdy cardstock, each pawn slots into a size-appropriate plastic base from the Pathfinder Pawns base assortment, making them easy to mix with traditional metal or plastic miniatures. I'm going to jump in here and toss something out there that I don't think a lot of people know either. There are also stands, the plastic bases, in the starter set. They've got them in both the Starfinder starter set as well as the Pathfinder starter set, the second edition Pathfinder starter set. So you don't necessarily have to have the base assortment, depending on how many of these, the pawns you want to use. The Pathfinder Bestiary 3 Pawn Collection is the best way to ensure you've got the perfect monster for every Pathfinder role-playing game encounter. Enhance your game table with dozens of creatures appearing in Bestiary 3. Each has its own abbreviation and identification number for easy sorting. This box set will carry an MSRP of $39.99. You can snag it in PDF for $17.99. Then we've got the Pathfinder Flip Mat Classics Twisted Caverns. Whether your party is venturing into a maze of twisty passages or escaping from the creature that dragged them to the center of its distressingly bone-strewn lair, no game master wants to spend time drawing every narrow cave, tunnel, and dead end. Fortunately, with Paizo's latest Pathfinder Flip Mat Classics, you don't have to. This line of gaming maps provides ready-to-use fantasy set pieces for the busy game master, full of beautiful details, including a fungus-infested cave and a spiraling descent. This double-sided map makes the perfect setting for encounters in the dank and dark. Don't waste your time sketching when you could be playing. With Pathfinder Flip Mat Classics Twisted Caverns, you'll be prepared next time your players head underground. And of course, a special coating on each flip mat allows you to use wet erase, dry erase, and permanent markers with ease. On tabletops across the world, the flip mat revolution is changing the way players run their fantasy role-playing games. Why take the time to sketch out ugly scenery on a smudgy plastic mat when dynamic encounters and easy cleanup is just a flip away? So carry an MSRP of $14.99. You can snag it in PDF for $10.49. We also have the Pathfinder Flip Tiles Urban Waterfront Expansion. A city's waterfront is often the heart of its trade, and that makes it the perfect place for smugglers and criminals to hide. Flip Tiles Urban Waterfront Expansion provides beautifully illustrated 6-inch by 6-inch map tiles that can be used to expand your city's waterfront with a variety of piers, boardwalks, canals, and lighthouses. Inside, you'll find 24 richly crafted double-sided map tiles. This expansion set, along with the Pathfinder Flip Tiles Urban Starter Set, allows you to create sprawling city maps quickly. So stop your sketching and start your flipping today. The Pathfinder Flip Tiles Urban Waterfront Expansion Set includes Lighthouse Isle, piers, boardwalks, waterfront alleys, shoreline, beacon, harbor, and waterways tiles. Suitable for experienced and novices alike. I don't know why you would have to be an experienced GM to use these flip tiles, but they always say this. This product does fit perfectly into any game master's arsenal. Wet, dry, and permanent markers race from the tiles. These double-sided dungeon tiles come in convenient packaging for easy storage, so add some depth to your urban waterfront. These will carry an MSRP of $19.99. And finally, the only Starfinder release next month is the Starfinder Flip Mat Crashed starship. Whether the heroes are coming through an interstellar shipwreck for valuable salvages, or survivors escaping from the ruins of their own demolished vessel, no game master wants to spend time drawing every hull breach and crumpled bulkhead. Fortunately, with Paizo's latest Starfinder flip mat, you don't have to. This line of gaming maps provides ready-to-use science fantasy set pieces for the busy game master. This double-sided map features a starship crash site and its surroundings on one side, and the damaged interior of the starship on the other. Don't waste time sketching while you could be playing. With Starfinder Flip Mat Crash Starship, you'll be ready the next time your players come in for a rough landing. This will carry an MSRP of $14.99. So those are the major releases from Paizo Inc. next month. There are some, like the Pathfinder Adventure Society. You can now buy the adventures that usually you would have to go to your game store to play in. You can buy the PDFs, and they're a few bucks. So they've got those. And of course, there's some Starfinder with that as well. But I was kind of surprised. No Starfinder Adventure Path. A new one does kick off in June. But this is the first time in my memory that I don't recall there since Starfinder came out, not long after it came out. It's the first time I can think of that there wasn't a Starfinder release for 1 month. Kind of weird. Also should mention, for those of you out there who are curious why the Paizo coverage when I do my reviews and that is I don't, what word do I want to say? Spotty? I only review what I get. So I've talked about this a few times before. I might start off doing a review of an adventure path and then I don't get the rest of the adventures. So it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I just review what comes my way. And of course, Sammy does some of the reviews as well for Pathfinder. All righty. Let's move on to our final news piece because it's a big one, especially for the role players out there. The Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game has arrived in PDF from Modiphius Entertainment. Here's the scoop. Arrakis, Dune, desert planet. The Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game takes you into a far future beyond anything you have imagined, where fear is the mind killer. So be sure to keep your wits about you. The Imperium is a place of deadly duels, feudal politics, and mysterious abilities. Noble houses politic constantly for power, influence, and vengeance in a universe where a blade can change the fortunes of millions. Build your house, carve your place in the universe, or rebuild an ancient lineage and fight for the imperial throne. Take your characters on a journey through the storied works of Frank Herbert's sci-fi masterpiece. Inhabit elite agents working for noble houses where mentats, sword masters, spies, Bene Gesserit sisters, devious advisors, and even desert fremen join together to follow your banner. Whoever you choose to be, remember that those that control the spice control the universe. The Dune Adventures in the Imperium core rulebook contains everything you need to create your own stories of intrigue and adventure on the sands of Arrakis as agents of a powerful noble house. It's got a brand new version of the 2D20 system, and it's been adapted specifically for Dune. An extensive look at the Imperium's included its society, factions, history, technology, culture, faith, and more. There's guidelines for novice and experienced game masters on how to run Doom-themed adventures and campaigns of intrigue and adventure for the elite agents of a noble house. There's rules for creating a noble house of your own, from house minor to major house, detailing its holdings, areas of expertise, and agenda. There's also systems for architect play, where you become the puppet masters, moving agents to your designs to serve your house. Also includes an introductory adventure designed to quickly get you and your fellow players involved in the Byzantine plots of the Imperium on Arrakis. Ka-ching! I know a lot of people are very excited about this. Bunch of people are very pumped. It's still a pre-order for the actual physical book, but I think that's still a couple of months away. Maybe it's an August release. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if this was planned to be like the big Gen Con release for Modiphius, but it is out in PDF. It is a 336 page core book for you to enjoy. So I got a couple of trivia questions. So let's see who can jump in and answer these first. And then I will backtrack and kind of address stuff going on in chat. And say hello to some people who popped in. First off, everybody get ready. Get ready at your keyboards. If you're watching on TV and that, I apologize. This is well, I'll tell you in a sec. All right, so when was Dune published? Dune, 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 Dune. Dune, 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 Dune. All right, I'm waiting. I am waiting. Did we disconnect from chat? So, Zurich says 1978. Disavowed 92 says 73. You're both wrong. Keep going. Keep guessing. Omanal says 1967. Not correct. Wow, we don't have any Frank Herbert fans here. I know a grade A's on Wiki right now. Silverwolf, hello, welcome aboard. That is someone new. Clint Gibson says 65. I'm assuming Clint means 1965. Is it 1865? I don't know. So Clint says 65. Flaming Heron says 1965. I know Clint meant 1965. And Clint is correct. Clint Gibson was the first one with the correct answer. It is 1965. Second question. Grady's like, what are we guessing? Second one. Clint, don't answer. What was the final Dune book that Frank Herbert alone wrote? Dune, Dune, Dune. Oh, and I was like, I don't feel like looking this stuff up right now. All right, well, I'm just asking a couple of trivia questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Omanal said they didn't feel right looking it up. I apologize. I thought so people are still guessing the years. No, I was not around in 1965. No. I'm old. I'm not that old. I'm pretty close to being that old, but I'm not that old. All right. What was the final Dune book that Frank Herbert wrote alone? Anybody want to guess? There's a method to my madness here. So I don't know. I'll give you a couple more minutes. While you're doing that, I'm going to jump back into chat real quick. So yeah, so a grade A was talking about a Kickstarter for all the Harn books in hardcover. I'll have to take a peek at that. And so Zaran was asking if who buys PDFs. I tend to get PDFs. I don't do reviews on PDFs. A lot of times I'll get PDFs from companies to prep me for doing a review when I receive the physical copy. I just find, I like PDFs, don't get me wrong. I run stuff from PDF all the time, but I just find PDF reviews, like do a video review of a PDF, comes across really boring. So Flaming Heron's talking about some of the PDFs aren't as user-friendly as they like to present themselves. That's right. So plus, besides giving Jeff super chats, it's a small way to give me some money and get a PDF. All right. So Omanal is joined us in chat. Of course, I had already mentioned that. I think we had Silver Wolf, I believe, is a first-time visitor here in chat as well. If I've missed somebody saying hello to you, I apologize. So, all right. So nobody wants to try to answer what the final book was written by Frank Herbert. My gosh, I'm amazed. It's Godchildren of Doom. Yep, Godchildren of Dune is the final book that he wrote by himself. I know his son Brian Herbert has released some stuff that has completed some stuff, and of course, he and another author together have written more Dune stuff that is more like action adventure than the political stuff that was going on in the first trilogy, which I believe I think off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure. So a Great A says, is that the third one? Oh, I'm sorry. It's God Emperor of Dune. Did I say God Children? It's Children of Dune is the third one. I'm pretty sure I think he wrote 5 books. Cause I know it's God Emperor of Dune is the final one that he wrote alone. Anyway, so Silver Wolf says they have to admit they never read any of the Dune books. I have to say, I know people might burn me in effigy or stone me. I think the quality of the stories or the novels drops after the second book. By the end of that, it was kind of like the first book's amazing. It's awesome. Once you no longer have the same characters from the first book, I think Dune loses its appeal. And I got to be honest, I have not read any of the Brian Herbert and I think it's something Anderson or whatever. All right, so Clint Gibson, you were correct with that trivia question. You have won a copy of the Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game in PDF. Shoot me an email with your email address, and I will get you your copy. There you go. So there was a flash contest I decided to throw out there. Anyway, I was going to do 2 giveaways, but nobody wanted to get on the other one. All right. So let's move on along. So Silver Wolf says, truth be told, I'm not really much of a book reader. I'm more into comics. My brother is like that as well, with his big collection of comics, which is kind of funny because I actually got him back into collecting comics. And then I was like, I'm done with this. This is, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that. Flaming Huron says, damn, I should have cheated and looked it up. You could have. You could have cheated and looked it up. I didn't say people couldn't look these things up. You might want to double check, see if it is God Emperor of Dune, which is the final book he wrote. But I'm 90% positive that it is, because I seem to recall the book came out just after he passed away, or he passed away just after it came out. And I remember reading a review of it in a Sunday supplement in the newspaper. So, all righty. Moving right along, we are going to take a look at Traveler, The Great Rift, which is from Mongoose Publishing. It's written by M.J. Doherty. This box set carries an MSRP of $69.99. You can grab the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $39.99. And yes, as I always point out, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, oh, I don't know, Drive Through RPG, by all means, please swing by thegaminggang.com. First, click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you do make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. And there are a lot of people who use those links, and I really do appreciate it. But I did see you can actually get Traveler the Great Rift at the Mongoose Publishing website in PDF for $10 less. It's $29.99. So that is usually not the case, but I do have to mention that. Even though you go into Drive Through RPG helps me out, I do want to tell you it's $10 less from Mongoose Publishing. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here we've got Traveler the Great Rift. I'm going to get the shrink wrap off of this. So Omanal and Silverwolf both mentioned that they are not, they have never played Traveler or actually had a copy of Traveler. Zorik says, you're a good man, Jeff. Well, you know what? We don't have, I guarantee there's nobody watching this show or visiting my website who's like just rolling in dough. I don't appeal to those sort of folks. I'm not saying that everybody's poor, but I'm just saying I know my audience. So if I can save you a few bucks on something, I let you know. I do it quite often. All right, let's take a look at the back here. I'm not going to read everything from this, but let's see. The last great unknown in charted space. Only the boldest dare venture into the depths of the Great Rift, crossing the abyss of empty space to find unexplored star systems and forgotten wonders. Deep in the Great Rift lie ancient mysteries, strange alien races, and human cultures who have not seen off-world contact in centuries. Portside rumors speak of giant creatures capable of interstellar flight and of starship wrecks belonging to no known race. From the Cold War of the island's cluster to the isolation of the boulder field, the Great Rift is a place of varied and insidious danger. A miscalculated jump means a slow death in deep space. Yet travelers are willing to take the risk. All right, so Omanal says that they were a Star Frontiers fan. None of the bookstores have Traveler. You know, I got to be honest. I don't think Traveler was easy to find. You had to have like a game store that carried GDW stuff. So as an example, the game store that when I was really, getting started, and I was in high school and we had the Gamers Guild club and stuff like that. There was a place called the Southler's Wagon, and they carried a lot of war game stuff too, some miniatures stuff. So because they carried a lot of the GDW board games, they also carried Traveler. And that's how I stumbled across it. I got the black box with the 3 books inside, like a lot of people did. Let's crack this on open, see what we've got. Looks like we've got some maps here. We also have what I thought was kind of cool with the starter set box to make life easier, taking this stuff out of the box. So we have this little tab there. So we've got 3 different maps here, and they are dual-sided. We'll take a look at these. This looks like this is actually a really big map. We will take a peek at these last. So it looks like we got a few books. One thing I want to mention that I think there's a misconception about Mongoose Traveler, and I've said it time and time again, there are a lot of editions of Traveler floating out there that are new. I mean, and this is new too. I personally think that a lot of people think Traveler is a much more complex game system than it actually has. And I don't know if it's because people kind of get they hear about like the star travel, star travel and stuff like that, and it's relatively math heavy. I mean, you don't have to do it. Come on. I tell people all the time, take what you want from a role-playing game and throw out the stuff that you don't want. All right, so this is book 1, The Great Rift, and we're going to kind of just flip through this rather quickly. So it looks like this is kind of a gazetteer for The Great Rift. First of all, let's see. It says charted space lies in a part of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Orion Spur, located between the Perseus Arm and the Carina Sagittarius Arm. There is still much debate as to whether the Orion Spur is part of the Perseus Arm or a separate region. Okay, I was just trying to find out. What is the rift? Thought they were just going to jump right into it. So Omnal says, every RPG back in the day was math heavy. Yeah, some more than others. Some were way more than others. Top Secret, you had all the various different modifiers and stuff like that. So there was a lot going on there. Star Frontiers, I don't remember it, or even like Gamma World. I don't remember those being super heavy into crunch. All right, just kind of zipping through here. Features of the Great Rift. Just wanted to show this off because this is I had a feeling this was going to be a very cool boxed set here. And so far it's looking to be. Something I personally find, at least from my past experience with Traveler, and I had first edition stuff, a lot of the first edition Traveler stuff. To me, there's more to like the adventures in that Mongoose has been doing. There is a very classic feel to them, but they're far, far more fleshed out. One of the aspects of the old Traveler adventures, in my opinion, were they were very dry. They didn't necessarily have a lot of personality. So that was an issue I think quite a few people had, that and it was just kind of more based on hard science, which is fine. I think that's absolutely fine in a role-playing game. But those of you who are familiar with first edition Traveler probably know where I'm coming from, where it just, they didn't mince a lot of words, I guess. It was just kind of everything's pretty cut and dry, and the adventures didn't have a ton of personality. Like NPCs in that, you wouldn't get, but of course, obviously, this is kind of true of a lot of the old school games. There wasn't a lot of background about the NPCs. There might be, a little bit there, which I'll be the first to say, I don't need to read a novella about an NPC who's going to be in, like 3 game sessions. But it used to just be like, oh, so-and-so's like the merchant. Okay, great. So Grade A says there's a target audience for Traveler like Harn. I gotta say, I think Traveler is probably less of a niche community than Harn is. I mean, there are a lot of people who know quite a lot about fantasy role-playing games who have absolutely no idea what Harn even is. And I think one of the things we'll talk, when we finish looking at this, we'll talk a little bit about Harn, because I'll be the first to point out, I am not the most well-versed with Harn, but I will talk about some things that I think might turn people off. So we've got some new ships we could see there. That's cool. Always could use more starships. Oh, we got some vehicles too. Something else about Mongoose Traveler is, at least as far as I understand, over the other Traveler systems that are out there, is that there's a lot more graphics. And I am a fan of art in my role-playing game books because, for one, it can be very inspirational. So there's some discussion going on about Harn. And Zorak says, Harn is one of the greatest games. So this, like I said, this looks like this is a gazetteer. I'm guessing we're going to get an adventure book, at least one adventure book. Nice. So this is 128 pages. So that is the first book. Next book is Reefed, is what it says. Book 2, or Reft, I guess. I don't know why did I give it a long E. See what this is. Okay, so I think this is a sector. Oh, it's a subsector, I think. No, it is a sector because it's talking about recent events in the island's subsectors. So we get Worlds of Reft. So this is almost, this looks like this is another gazetteer here. So Zorek's talking about Harn. Harn is the Oregon Trail of fantasy role-playing games. That's kind of how I would sum it up. Okay. So this looks very similar to the first book. So we've got some new ships, we've got some new creatures. It's talking about all these various different subsectors here. Which, I got to be honest, this might not necessarily appeal to some game masters out there. Some game masters might be like, you know what? I don't need all of this information. But if you are looking at creating some, really epic adventures, campaigns, things like that, books like these come in very, very handy. So we got a merchant cruiser. So I notice how the ships and monsters, or creatures, I shouldn't say monsters, are kind of scattered throughout. They're not located in just one particular section of the book. Did that say Halliburton? Halliburton. I was going to say Halliburton. What? Mysteries of Reft. So you're getting a lot of material in here. And remember, if you get the PDF, this is all in the PDF as well. So more ships. These ships more look like, we had like a transport ship. We had a merchant ship. What kind of ship is this? Oh, a mobile base. Patrol frigate. There we go. But at least we get some artwork. And I got to say that the Mongoose Traveler, I like the style of the ships. Here, I'll move this over so you can see it a little better. I'm picture because this helps, mess with the pirates out there. That's why some of this stuff I'm just flipping through real quick too. So that's another 112 pages. So that's 224 that we've got. And looks like we got a deep space exploration handbook. So looks like that's more materials here. So it appears we don't have a dedicated adventure book. Now I know there are separate adventures that take place in the Great Rift that are available separately because I've seen the PDFs. So Indigo Dragon has joined us. Good to see you, Indigo Dragon. And they say they love Traveler. So Zorak says, this Traveler looks pretty good. A Great A says they have several of the Traveler board games. Yes, I remember those. So this looks very similar to the other books. So in essence, really, this is the Great Rift is more than a sector, but that's what the main focus is. We're getting info on every one of the planets. We're getting some new creatures. Got a lot of new ships. The Shackleton mission. But it looks like we've got a lot of, I'm kind of surprised. This is the first time we've actually seen the layout for the planet, which looks like so. Looks like we're getting into a little more detail. A flame train. That's kind of cool. It's got a little face on it. Yeah, this book, we're actually getting the details, the planetary details. One thing that's kind of cool about Traveler 2 is that you can take like NPCs, or actually player characters too, planets, sectors, and all you can break them down into like single digits. So as an example here, I don't know how well you can see it. We see statistics. So for the one planet, it's B575654-A. That means something. That each of those digits and letters means something as far as the actual planetary makeup. All right. Wow. There's just a lot to this. We got a steamship. That's kind of cool. So Agrede is asking, wasn't Firefly based on someone's Traveler campaign? I'm not sure. I got to be honest. I don't know. I know George R.R. Martin's Wild Card series that he was an editor for, which is nice to see they've got some new books out in that series. I was a big Wild Cards fan. That was based on a Super Worlds campaign. Super Worlds was Chaosium's superhero system. All right, last book. Is that dust? Yeah, it is. It's like, is that like a planetary system on the back? It's like, no, it's dust. All right, so this is the Deep Space Exploration Handbook. This is shorter. Now, that other book, I believe we're going to see 112 pages. Let's double check. Oh, 104. So that would put us at 328. And this is 48. So that would take us to 376. So 376 pages of info in here. So this appears like this is new mechanics for deep space exploration. So Agrede says Joss Wheaton confirmed in an interview that the Firefly verse started as a campaign of an old sci-fi RPG that he refused to identify. So we're looking at it had to be either Traveler, Star Frontiers. I highly doubt it was like Space Opera, the old FGU game. It's got to be one of those two. That would be my guess. And the funny thing is, a lot of people always talk about, they're like, oh, hey, so, if you want to kind of mimic Firefly, then Traveler's pretty good at it. And it's kind of like, well, Traveler was sort of Firefly before there was Firefly. So this is all just discussing deep space exploration. So Highguard is kind of the additional supplement with like military ships. And then there's also a, oh God, it's kind of like a gear book that's available as well. I mean, the reality is all you need is a starter set or the core rule book because both are the same. So this is asking if anybody plays the Expanse RPG, is it any good? Sammy reviewed it. Sammy liked it. We have had some reviews from visitors that do not like it, especially the one adventure she reviewed, she really liked. And somebody did a review and commented that it was a total railroad and stuff like that. I don't know. I have not actually taken a peek at it. So I did not look at it. Sammy did. So you can check out Sammy's review over at thegaminggang.com. And if you don't know Sammy, it's Sammy Uhas. She does reviews of role-playing game PDFs. And I got to be honest, I need reviewers because I get offered tons and tons of role-playing game PDFs, and I don't personally do reviews of them because I don't have time. And once again, I prefer just doing video reviews, and they look really boring. So just PDF reviews. So we got the 4 books. So over 370 pages of content here. So Grade A says MCDM, I'm not sure who that is, did a whole video today about what is and isn't a railroad. How much time do you have to devote to that? I mean, it's pretty easy. We're just going to quickly take a look at some of these maps because these are actually pretty large. So these are sector maps. So we covered a few sectors here. So kind of give you an idea. Not much going on in that area. Down here, it looks like we've got, maybe this is actually, top part is like the rift. So here we've got the Aslan Herates. They're sort of the like wolf-like creatures. Then, of course, we got another sector map on the back. So we've got some Imperium space. So this is kind of showing where it's at in the galaxy. These are different. I haven't seen these before. But once again, I mean, really the only Traveler stuff I've had an opportunity to take a peek at is what Mongoose has sent along. Just kind of give you an idea of these maps. Take a look at the bottom down there. So there's the Imperium, third Imperium. So those are basically the humans. And then we got one more. Let's just kind of take a quick peek at. Is this more Aslan space? Yep. So if it's got a yellow border. There's the Great Reef, as opposed to the Great Rift. And then on the back, this is kind of cool. This is going to show us how this works out. All right, so Zurich's rocking out. Good to see you. We'll see you next week. Kind of give you an idea of that. That's cool. All right, there's a lot of material in here, I'll tell you that. And I know there's at least 2 adventures that have been published for the Great Rift. There might be more. I'm not positive. All right. So once again, this is available. The physical box set does carry an MSRP of $69.99. You can grab the PDF at Drive-Thru RPG for $39.99, or you can go to the Mongoose Publishing website and get the PDF for $29.99. If you have never checked out Traveler, I highly recommend it. If you have any interest in science fiction role playing, I highly recommend you take a peek at the core rulebook for second edition Traveler from Mongoose. Keep in mind, make sure it's Mongoose Traveler. There are other travelers out there that are being, they're not old. They are new, and they're just not the same. So a Grade A says they think there's 3 adventures for the Great Rift. Sweet. Very cool. All right. So that is that. Did want to talk about real quick. I'm going to wrap up in just a moment. I had talked about, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue doing the Gaming Gang Dispatch past episode 650, simply because we weren't pulling in enough people, enough views. So I understand that some videos are going to get quite a lot more views than other videos. That's obvious. I know if I do an unboxing of a GMT war game, that's going to bring viewers in, as opposed to if I'm doing a video about a game that's from some small company that people haven't heard of. It's probably not going to bring a bunch of people in. So all I'm looking to do is try to average 200 viewers a video, or 200 views per video, which isn't really that hard, especially considering, like, if we're doing a GMT video, you're going to see, like, within a week or two, 500-600 views on that, which I know for most people is like big deal, but 200 views on a video for me is like, oh, okay, cool. All right. Glad we cracked that. Now, granted, I've got videos that have like 25,000 views, but those are few and far between. So anyway, so Grade A says, don't get Mongoose Traveler First Edition. No, I had heard some issues about that. Nefarious Coel has joined us. Good to see you, Nefarious. So he's asking if Mongoose is going to do the 2300 AD Traveler. I don't know. I got to be honest. I don't know if they are or not. Anyway, so yes, I'm going to continue doing the show. Hopefully we'll see those numbers just around that. Way to help out, keep the dispatch around, is tune in and watch. You don't necessarily have to watch live. Just watch the videos. Check them out. Even if I'm showing off a game that you're like, just check out the news portion. You don't have to watch the whole show. Anyway, all right. So I just wanted to share that. All right, we'll talk about Harn real quick. So I believe Harn's on its 3rd edition. And I think one of the turnoffs that Harn has is that Columbia is still, now granted, I think it was a Grade A who mentioned that they've got a Kickstarter for their Harn stuff in hardcover, which would be a huge boon to them at Columbia. Anyway, the Harn stuff is all produced where you would put it in a 3-ring binder, which was actually a thing back in the day with D&D, and a few other role-playing games did that as well, where it was, you would get a book and it would have, like, it would be ready for a 3-ring binder, but it also had binding to it so that you could read it without having it in the binder. Harn is not like that. Harn is designed, the pages are designed to go into a 3-ring binder. So if you're trying to read it and it's not in a binder, like I did when Tom was Tom Douglas was kind enough to send me a copy of the 3rd edition of Harn, which isn't really long. It's not like tons and tons of pages. It was very, very difficult to check out because I didn't have a 3-ring binder handy. So, and I think that turns a lot of people off, is that it's not a book, and it's never been. They've never produced Harn releases as books, they're always presented as just loose sheets that go into a binder. Now, one thing I will point out, they've got kind of a gazetteer. They've got a lot of that stuff for Harn. And part of the appeal of the binder is that you can actually separate the sections from each release and put them into the binder. And that's kind of cool. But on the other hand, people look at it and they go, 3-ring binder? What? The actual content of Harn is pretty cool. And if you're not familiar with it, it's relatively crunchy. I know a lot of people say, oh, wow, the rules are really crunchy. At its core, it's not that crunchy. I would say a little more than like mid complexity on the rules, but it's very realistic. The combat is relatively realistic as far as a game goes. It is not where it's like, oh, well, that's the 20th hit. And, good thing I still have 30 hit points left. No. And the other game that that I would say, if you're familiar with that, as far as the lethality of combat, is 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Once again, that combat can be very, very deadly. You can easily be taken out in one hit. So, and Harn is similar to that, but Harn is also a very realistic setting as well. And there is a lot of detail and real love that goes into each of the Harn releases. You can tell that the folks over at Columbia really, really care about this role-playing game, even though it has a really tiny niche market. So, but yeah, I would love to see it released as books. So Omanal is asking, is it low fantasy? Is Harn low fantasy? Yes, it is. In fact, you could easily run Harn without any magic whatsoever. So I would say, if you're familiar with the One Ring, which is the very popular German role-playing game, it's kind of along those sort of lines where it's not like everywhere you turn there's halflings and gnomes and dwarves and elves and all these other things. So, and it's a much more like realistic medieval sort of setting, which we were just talking about the bundle of holding for chivalry and sorcery, which is also supposedly a very realistic kind of medieval era with arcane magic in that. Once again, there you go. Indigo Dragon says Harn's a perfect setting. So yes, that's the other thing. Harn is more of a setting than it is an actual system. And I think there are far more people who utilize Harn as a system that they plug in their own favorite fantasy role-playing rules of their choice with that as well. So last thing I was going to mention is I think it was a great A mentioning somebody did a video today about what is and what isn't a railroad. Essentially, the way I've always looked at a railroad is if the players have no agency in where the adventure goes, that is a railroad. If it's no matter what they do, they're still going to end up at this one spot. And it's like, and you see railroads much more now because you have so many role-playing games that are kind of scene to scene, right? They're kind of point to point. You don't see a lot of the bigger role-playing games like 5th edition D&D or 2nd edition Pathfinder. You don't see a lot of like hex crawl kind of stuff. It's all, especially, the published adventures, it's all, okay, well, then this happens, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and We might throw some wandering monsters out there because we need you to get those the experience points to get you up to the proper level that this adventure requires you to finish up at. So stuff like that. Oh, there you go. Omenal mentions something that most people who are big fans of Dragonlance seem to forget. The modules sucked. They really did. I think the first one, and I got to be honest, I did not read them. I'd always heard they really sucked outside of the first adventure because it was kind of like the player characters were NPCs in their own adventures. So, Nefarious Coel says, I view Harnmaster rules as about the same level as Rollmaster Harp regarding combat. I got to say, I have not seen Rollmaster lately. I did have like Arms Law, Spell Law, Claw Law, had all of those. And as interesting as all those critical hits and all the different weapons and stuff like that were, these days I wouldn't run anything like that. So Nefarious says not quite as detailed regarding crit tables. Yep, exactly. All right. So Flaming Heron says they think that a lot of the pre-written adventures these days are railroady. It's up to the GM to not steer the players and let the game flow as it does. I agree. I also got to point out, I've run Call of Cthulhu for decades, and I would say most Call of Cthulhu adventures can be considered railroads. But, I mean, there's still player agency in them, but being a railroad doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad adventure. I say it all the time. You could go on a trip on a railroad and have a great time and see some wonderful scenery and go to a very cool place. So railroads are not necessarily horrible. I think people tend to talk about railroads when it's, number one, a bad adventure to start with, and then it's a big railroad. Then it's like, eh. So Omenal says Call of Cthulhu adventures seem to lead players rather than force players. Yeah, nothing is ever forced. But we all know as keepers that you do have to kind of, lead the players to where they need to be in order for the adventure to continue, to give them some good scares. All right. So that is it for this time out, and that is it for this week as well. So coming up next week on Monday, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at both Nobility and Siege, which are the expansions for War Chest from AEG. I think Siege is the newest of them coming out. On Tuesday, I'm going to unbox and take a look at King of Tokyo Dark Edition, which is from Yellow Games. This is actually a copy that I got as a gift. So we're going to take a peek at this because I always wanted to kind of take a look. I actually never played King of Tokyo. On Wednesday's show, and I do have to point out, this is all based on if I don't get the review copy of Ratcatcher next week. So, because that looks really interesting, I really want to take a look at that. If it arrives, say, like over the weekend or something, I'll actually replace King of Tokyo Dark Edition with that. For Wargame Wednesday, we're going to unbox and take a first look at Samurai Battles. Yes, this is the newest Commands and Colors release from GMT Games and includes over 40. It includes 40 exactly battle scenarios. And then on Thursday, unless I stumble across an RPG release, we're going to be taking a look at Polyversal, which is from Colin's Epic War Games. This is a miniatures rules system for 6mm science fiction military minis. So I know it's not a role-playing game on a Thursday, but if if I don't run across something that's an RPG, that's what we'll look at on next Thursday. If I do have something, then of course, obviously enough, we'll push Polyversal back to the next week. Maybe for like War Game Wednesday, because that's really where it fits a little better. All right. So Olnal says they love seeing shows wrap stuff up from previous episodes that were ignored for a couple of seasons. Indigo Dragon says they never played a Commands and Colors game. They are actually, the Commands and Colors series is pretty cool. The medieval release wasn't all that great. Samurai Battles actually was not from GMT. It was a Commands and Colors release, but it came from, I always forget the name of the Polish model company, Zevda or something like that. They made it, but they made it with little miniatures, plastic miniatures that you had to put together on stands and stuff like that. And it went over okay. People liked it, but the minis were kind of a pain in the ass, and people who liked the Commands and Colors blocks were disappointed that they had all these plastic miniatures and they were very difficult to store. Zezda, thank you, is the name of it. Thanks, Nefarious. And I got to be honest, I think the person who ran the company passed away. So I'm not even sure if they're still around. So anyway, it's with GMT, so they released it, and a lot of people are very, very excited by that. Also, Monday, I'm supposed to interview Satine Phoenix about her upcoming Kickstarter. So I will tell you how that goes, although I'm sure I'll probably sit on the interview until the Kickstarter launches. But I'll let you know how it goes. All right. Nefarious says the easiest CNC game to get into, that's Commands and Colors, is the original Battle Cry. Yeah, that is out of print. It's been out of print for quite a while. It got a reprint not that long ago, but that's also out of print. All right, pretty long show, about an hour and a half tonight. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. Keep in mind, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch airs live Monday through Thursdays here on YouTube, it'll also tell you when my other videos, such as my upcoming review of Osric, I think this is 2.2, when that pops up, so that you can keep an eye out on the horizon as well. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Those of you who hung out watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate you taking some time out to sit back and put your feet up with this doofus. But I also know a lot of people out there don't have an opportunity to watch live. Maybe they're watching on Memorex. I don't know. But what I do know is I certainly appreciate anybody taking time out to watch the show. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate it. I really do mean that. So, all right. Everybody, enjoy your upcoming weekend. And of course, enjoy the rest of your Thursday night or Friday morning or whatever day it happens to be. I'm going to be back on Monday. And of course, as I wrap up all my videos during this seemingly never-ending pandemic, I certainly hope all of you out there are being smart and staying safe. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel yet, click right here. If you'd like to see the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, click right up there. And if you want to trust YouTube's algorithm to give you something to watch, click right there. Once again, thanks so much for watching. And everybody, please wear a mask.